Okay, 7th grade, Chapter 6, Lessons 1 and 2. We're kind of combining two lessons here. We do this sometimes when the two lessons deal with each other so closely, and this is exactly like those. Pay attention to the end, because the end is going to give you specific directions on which practice problems to complete for homework tonight. Okay, so let's start off with a little bit of vocab. Little vocab here. We've got 4 words. Our first word is equation. An equation is a numerical sentence that uses numbers, operations, and variables and has an equal sign. So remember what we talked about in the last video. EQUA starts off the word equation. EQUA starts off the word equal. That's how you can remember that equations have equal signs. Let's get you an example of an equation here. How about 5x plus 10 equals 40? We'll actually solve equations like that very, very soon. Not in this lesson, but in an upcoming lesson, okay? Solution. The solution is the value that can be substituted into an equation to make it true. So if I did the work and I solved 5x plus 10 equals 40, and I got my solution, x equals 6, that is what a solution looks like. It tells you the variable, it tells you its value. And if we were to take that 6 and substitute it in for x, we would get a true statement, which means that both sides of the equal sign would be equal. Okay? Solve. Solve is a verb. It means to find the solution of an equation, so that's what we're doing right here. You didn't hear me say solve a lot prior to this, especially in Chapter 5. We weren't solving expressions. We were just simplifying them. In Chapter 6, we are solving. We are figuring out the value of those variables. Last vocab word is check. Check is a really important word. Check means, it's another verb. It means to substitute the solution into an equation to prove that it's correct. So let me show you an example of a check. We're going to do lots of these, but I'm going to check my solution here, x equals 6, in my equation 5x plus 10 equals 40. So I start off with the equation 5x plus 10 equals 40. And I take my 6 and I substitute in for x. Now remember, I want to see you substituting with parentheses, especially in a position like this, because we know 5x means 5 times x, and 5 next to the parentheses means 5 times 6 as well. So what we do to check is we simplify this left side of the equation, following the order of operations. 5 times 6 is 30. Write everything else down. 30 plus 10 is 40. And a check is when both sides of the equal sign are the same number. If you don't get the same number in your check, then you made a mistake and you have to resolve your problem. Let's do a couple practice problems. Oh, a little bit of notes. Sorry about that. Notes. First note, to solve an equation, we must isolate the variable. To isolate the variable, by the way, isolate means to get it by itself. That's a math term, to get it all by itself. So we want the variable on one side of the equal sign with nothing else there with it. To isolate the variable, we are going to use the inverse operation of what's going on in the problem. We're going to keep the equation balanced by doing the same operation on both sides. That's really important here. Keep your equations balanced. And just a review of your inverse operations, we know addition and subtraction are inverses, multiplication and division are inverses, and a new one to add to the list, squares and square roots. We'll talk more about that in Chapter 11. Okay? Now let's do an example. We've got our friend Mason here. Mason has a collection of video games. For his birthday, he got 4 new games, and now he has 18 games. So our job is to start off with what's called a verbal model. A verbal model is taking the math problem and bridging the gap between English and math. So the verbal model is going to be that Mason has some games, and then he gets 4 more games. So you know that means that we're adding 4. And now that means he has 18 games. Okay, so it's kind of a bridge between math and English. So if we want to turn this into an equation, we want to get rid of the words and use variables in their place. So a good variable to use for games would be the letter G. And the equation is G plus 4 equals 18. In the next part of this question, we want to solve the equation, so we're going to copy the equation here. Got g plus 4 equals 18. Yeah, I know you can solve this in your head. I already know that. But let's talk about good math practices so that we can solve the tougher ones when the time comes. Okay? So drop your train tracks into place. The train tracks separate our equation into two separate halves, the left half and the right half. It also keeps our equal signs nice and lined up, and that's something really important to us. So we look over here at the variable side of the equation and we say, hey, what's going on over here? What number is with the variable? Well, it's the number 4. And what operation is happening right here? It's addition. So the inverse of addition is subtraction, and that's the key to getting rid of that 4. We're going to subtract 4. And when we do that, our 4's cancel out. But remember that note from the previous slide. If we subtract 4 from one side of the equation, we have to subtract 4 from the other side as well. We have to keep our equation balanced. So what we do next is we bring everything down. What's left on the left-hand side? Only the letter G. Bring down your equal sign. 18 minus 4 is 14. And now that our variable is isolated, we are finished. Our solution is G equals 14. Now, we do have to check this. We're going to check this with substitution, so that means we're going to put a 14 in place of G, and we're going to write the rest of the equation out. 14 plus 4 equals 18. And then we're going to solve the left-hand, or simplify the left-hand side. 14 plus 4 equals 18. 18 equals 18. That makes us very, very happy. Okay? Then last but not least, we write an answer sentence. Remember, our answer was this piece up here, the solution, G equals 14. So to answer the question, how many games did Mason have before his birthday? Mason had 14 games before his birthday. Let's do another one. Jen and Katie are selling Girl Scout cookies. Jen sells J boxes of cookies, so we don't know how many she sells. They're giving us a variable. And Katie sells 24 boxes. Katie sold 4 times as many boxes as Jen. So the verbal model helps us make sense of the problem. So we have Katie, and Katie's total is 4 times Jen's total. Okay, so there's our verbal model. It's a little bit of English, a little bit of math, and what it does is it helps us to turn our math into, turn our word problem into an algebraic equation. So, Katie, let's take a look here. Katie, do we know how many cookies Katie sold? Yeah, we totally do. Katie sold 24 boxes, so I can cross off Katie and put a 24 there. Is a math word that means equals, so I can put an equal sign there. And now I have to think about this, 4 times Jen. Do we know how many boxes Jen sold? Well, no, we don't, but they told us to use this variable J. So we need to think, how would I write 4 times J? Well, that's 4J. So my equation here is 24 equals 4J. And it's okay if you have the 4J first in the equation. That's perfectly fine. Maybe your verbal model is set up differently than mine. But I think that the sentence Katie is 4 times J, or times Jen, kind of helps link our math to the problem. All right, let's solve the equation to find how many boxes of cookies Jen sold. So our equation is 24 equals 4J. I'm going to drop my train tracks into place. And now I've got to find the variable side of the equation. The variable side's right here, 4J. It's got the variable on it. And we need to get that J isolated. So we need to get rid of the 4. So we have to ask ourselves, what operation is happening here? 4J, 4J. That's multiplication. So we've got to divide to get rid of that 4. That's the inverse of multiplication. So I'm going to divide like a fraction. I want you to do the same thing. I don't want to see this symbol. This symbol's cute, but we need to advance from it. So we need to say goodbye to that division symbol. So we're going to use the fraction division sign. So divide by 4 on the right-hand side. That cancels those 4's out. We're left with 1J. But do not forget, I don't like where I put my equal sign there, sorry. Do not forget that we still have to divide the other side by 4 as well. We have to keep our equation balanced. So we divide both sides by 4. 24 divided by 4 is 6. That tells me that my solution is j equals 6. We can do a little substitution to check our work. 24 equals 4 times 6. Solve both sides. 24. 4 times 6 equals 24, and our math works out great. Write your answer sentence in the last step. Jen sold 4 boxes of cookies. Okay? I know this video is getting a little long, but there are 2 practice problems I want us to just take a gander at really quickly. Yeah, I said gander. I heard it too. Go ahead and drop your train tracks in practice problem number 4. Okay, so I'm not going to solve these the whole way for you, but I'm going to get you started. On the left-hand side, we've got x minus 3. We need to get rid of that minus 3. So how are we going to get rid of a minus? Well, we're going to add. We're going to add 3. And if we add 3 to the left, we're going to add 3 to the right as well. We get x equals 4. Don't forget to do your check on that one, okay? Number 12 as well. This one I want to make sure we're comfortable seeing this. Drop your train tracks into place. And then we're going to read this problem. 14 equals h divided by negative 3. Division is our operation, so we need to do multiplication to get rid of that negative 3. And what are we going to multiply? We're going to multiply by that negative 3. Yes, it's negative, so we have to multiply by a negative as well. We're going to multiply both sides by that negative 3 to keep it balanced. Okay, these 3's cancel out. We're left with h on the right-hand side. Negative 13 times negative 3 times positive 14 is negative 42. Again, don't forget to do your check here. I just wanted to help you out with those 2 questions because we didn't see anything like them. I'm going to give you a break on your practice problems tonight. The only practice problems you need to do are questions 1, 3, 5, 8, 10, 11, and finish the checks for the 2 problems that we did in the last slide. I think that was question number 4 and number 12. Okay, we'll check over these tomorrow. Ask me any questions that you would like to ask tomorrow in class. Have a great day.